Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ruthie and I'm getting ready to make creamy chicken and rice soup. You've probably seen this all over the internet, so this is going to be my version of it, and these are the ingredients that I am using. Below will be the full recipe, so don't worry. You will have the recipe linked below. So the first thing I'm going to do in my Dutch oven pot, I'm going to melt some butter because I want to saute my vegetables, which is the carrots, celery, and onions. Now you could have done this in oil, however I chose to do it in butter to add more flavor and a little bit less like grease. Butter isn't as greasy as the oil. The oil will float to the top of the soup when you're cooking with oil, so that's why I chose butter. And the extra flavor never hurts with butter. So as you see here, my carrots and celery and onions are finely diced. You can make the size of your vegetables whatever size you like. We like it a little bit small, so that way they're there, but they're really not seen too much because my family is a little picky with their vegetables. So I am sauteing the celery, carrots, and onions, as you see. And then once you do this for maybe 3-4 minutes, and then I'm going to add in the garlic as well. Again, the recipe will be down below in the description box. And then I'm going to give that another good stir. And we're going to let this cook for about 4 to 5 minutes until the onions start to soften. So now that the onions have softened, as you see here, I'm not worried about the carrots and celery because it will cook and get softened as the soup is actually cooking. So I'm giving it one last stir, and I'm going to add in the flour so we can actually add in our thickening agent for this soup. I am using 3 tablespoons of flour. Now, if you want a soup that's a little, that has more liquid to it versus a thickness, then just add 2 tablespoons of flour. Make sure that when you add in your flour, you give it a good mix. So that way all the vegetables and everything are coated and you're cooking the flour so you don't have that flour taste later on in your soup. And just do this for about 2 minutes or so, just until the flour is fully absorbed by the vegetables. So once that is done, then we're going to start adding in our liquid, which is going to be our broth or our stock. I've also added in water as well. And you can substitute the broth for whatever. You can do a broth, you can do bouillon cubes, or you can do just water. It all depends on how you want your soup to taste and the consistency of it. But this is how I did mine. So I'm going to let this, after I get the broth and everything in, I am going to give this a good stir. And as you can see, the flour is actually starting to thicken the liquid already in the soup, or the broth actually, and this is smelling already amazing, and I don't even have all of the ingredients in yet. So once this cooks for a good 5 minutes, you just want it to simmer for a little bit, not too long, because we are gonna let this cook for a good 25 minutes until it's done. So as you can see, as I'm stirring it, you can see that it's slowly thickening already. And then we're going to start adding in our seasonings, as you will see soon. And you're going to add in the rice. I think this is a half a cup of rice. If you do want more rice, go ahead and add in a full cup of rice. Just remember, the rice will absorb your liquid, which I forgot when I added the rice in with the flour. So if you want more liquid to the soup versus a thick soup, then lessen your flour. If not, add in more liquid, which is what I was doing. I had to add in another cup of water just so I could help thin it out, because between the flour and the rice, it did actually make the soup thicker than what I wanted. So I'm going to add in the seasoning. You're going to see that when I put the parsley in, I put a little bit too much parsley. But it did not hurt the flavor or anything. Just be lighter as you are measuring your parsley. It should be 1 teaspoon of parsley, and I accidentally did 2. But the soup was still amazing. But if you are a person that likes parsley, then leave it at 2 teaspoons. You're going to give this a good stir, and then next we're going to add in the chicken and everything. And then we're going to just let it simmer for about 20-25 minutes because everything is pretty much cooked. Oh, and I forgot, we are going to add in the canned milk. Now, you can actually use regular milk or heavy cream. However, I didn't want the liquid to separate because heavy cream, your soups will separate because when I make my zuppa, the cream will separate from the broth. So I wanted them to stay together, so that's why I used the canned milk, so that way the broth and the milk will not separate. And again, you can see on my parsley. Now I'm going to add in the chicken. The chicken was pre-cooked. All I do is I throw a couple of chicken breasts in a crock pot, put it on high for 2 to 3 hours, and just let it cook. And then I just shred it up, and then I throw it into whatever I'm making that day. So today was the soup, so it just makes life easier when you utilize all your tools. And I always use the crock pot when I'm trying to cook my chicken up for that day. It just makes it easier. So give this a good stir, and we're going to now let it simmer for about 20-25 minutes or until you think that it is done and all your vegetables are tender. When you taste, make sure at this point too, or at least 10 to 15 minutes into the cooking process, that you give your soup a good taste for any missing seasonings, more salt. As you've seen, I did not add any salt, pepper, because the broth and everything already had salt. And when I did taste this, it was perfect. I did not need to add anything to it. So after 20-25 minutes, I believe I let it cook for about 25, almost 30 minutes. And this is the finished product. Oh my goodness, this was amazing. I was so surprised that I actually made something this good. Joking, sorry, but this was truly an amazing soup. And this is what we had for dinner, and that is homemade French bread, which I will be blogging, or it's on my website already, ruthiecancook.com. I hope you enjoy the video, and I will talk to you in the next one.